You are listening to the Hiking Radio Network, where we talk the walk with shows by hikers, about hikers, for everybody.
Mighty Blue on the Appalachian Trail, the ultimate midlife crisis. Join Steve and his guests every week as he staggers from Georgia to Maine.
Hey guys, and welcome back to the podcast, and apologies for making you wait for it today. For reasons entirely in my control, I didn't get this done yesterday, and I've had to use a Nero day this Monday to get the show out. Sorry about that. You're listening to Mighty Blue, me, on the Appalachian Trail, and I'm working on my third through hike of the AT. I've reached New Hampshire, and I've immediately been made aware that I've moved up a gear or two in the difficulty level, and we haven't even hit the really tough stuff. Nonetheless, we're being put through our paces and making decent progress this week. But before we hear how the past 4 days have gone since last Wednesday, let's hear a word from our sponsor, Polar Steps.
If you're heading out on a long hike this year, which I am, I've got something I think you're going to love. It's called Polar Steps. It's a travel tracking app that's going to become a favourite with hikers. You set your start date, let it run quietly in the background, and it maps your entire journey automatically, all on your own beautiful spinning 3D globe. And don't worry, the tracking feature uses about 4% of your battery on a single charge, so it's not going to kill your phone when you're out there. You can add photos and short journal entries as you go, so your map shows you where you were and your words remind you of what that day actually felt like. There's a light social layer too. Family and friends can follow along, or you can keep it completely private. As every hiker says, hike your own hike. And when you're done, you can relive the whole thing in the app or turn it into a stunning coffee table book with your route, stats, photos and stories. And did I tell you that it's entirely free to download and use? The only time you'll be paying anything is if you decide to turn your trip into a book. That's Polar Steps. Track it now, treasure it forever.
Day number 122, which was last Wednesday, Windterry Shelter, mile 1728.6 to Thistle Hill Shelter, mile 1740.9, a 12.3 mile day. I woke up in the shelter, not in the shelter, in my tent, had a breakfast, a bit of coffee and breakfast skillet, and sitting there in the morning light, it is always my best time of the day. I love it when I can get in my chair, I can just basically chill out and enjoy my coffee. I mean, I know it's only instant coffee kind of, but you know, it's still the feeling of having breakfast, always my best time of the day. And we started off with kind of light forest and sort of new growth, and it looked like a lot of very small saplings, and then old growth and dark forest. And the change was sort of sudden. You know, you're almost in the light, and then suddenly you get plunged into the darkness. We had about a descent to Route 12 of about 3.5 miles. And on this particular day, I had to get my podcast out. And there was a 0.4 side trail to Abracadabra Coffee. And Abracadabra Coffee is a nice little place. It's got a lot of space out the back, big field out the back, in fact, with a picnic table, which would have been was perfect for me to record. And I went out there to do that. But actually on the way to Abracadabra, there's a car coming towards me, and I can see a guy and the woman winding the car down with a hand, the window down rather, with a hand up to me, and I stopped. His name was Daniel Quinn, and he and his wife slack pack a lot of people. He said, "Would you like a free slack pack?" I mean, I kind of wasn't in the market for it, but it was so kind of, I went back and to hear what he had to say. And he said I must have got the number wrong. I think he said they've slack packed 15,000 people over the years, but I think it must be 1,500 people. But actually, if you're listening, Daniel, let me know, because that is a remarkable thing that you offer. And they take people forward to West Vermont, and people then slack pack southwards back to Daniel's house, and they stay in the house, or they camp in the garden, I guess. And I wasn't actually in the market for it because, I was back with carrying my pack generally. But it was very, very nice of him to offer, and he was a really nice fella. And that morning, in fact, I think the day before, somebody called Terry LaManna got in touch with me, saying that her husband John was hiking the trail and he was a big fan of the podcast and he was hoping to catch up with me. And he was just behind me. I think he'd stayed at the Lookout the night before or something like that. And she said, he's on his way. I told him, I'm going to be at Abracadabra and I'm going to be there for probably 3 hours to get this podcast done. And so he was welcome to come and see me and we'd have a cup of coffee. So Terry then took this as an invitation to keep texting and telling me about John. And so I knew more about him than I thought I was going to know by the time he turned up. But he eventually turned up. I just finished all my recordings, so I had a chance to sit down and have a chat with him. We took a picture. It was nice. Very nice to meet a listener from the show again. And I'm sorry about the podcast last week. I'm told actually it sounds okay, but the reason why the microphones weren't working, and I was really worried about that, was they simply run out of power. I hadn't charged them for a couple of weeks and I'd kind of forgotten to charge them. So I had to record through the microphone on my iPhone, but I found from this new software I've been using called Orphonic that I could alter it quite a bit. And when I listened to it, because I don't listen to it all back, but when I listened to a bit of it, it didn't sound that bad. So I'm not too unhappy with it. But now I've got the proper mic spec, so hopefully this should always sound better. We had steep climbs after lunch, and after the second one, there was a nice wide rockless path all the way down to Pomfret Road before the slog at the end of the day. And this included walking in and out of fields and forests before getting up and over Thistle Hill and dropping down the other side to the Thistle Hill shelter. And I, in my mind, the Thistle Hill walk, the hike up Thistle Hill from my 2014 hike had been a real barn burner for me, but it was okay. I'm getting there fine. And I knew that the rain was coming, though I wasn't expecting too much rain. And I set up in what turned out to be a lousy spot, which was right in the path of a river of rain, bringing loads of mud to get in between my tent floor and my ground sheet. The tent floor got wet and it was pretty soggy night. There were 4 other smarter people who'd set up in the shelter itself, knowing that the rain was going to be much heavier. And once again, I'd mismanaged this part of the hike. Oh well, I guess you live and learn, and I should have stayed in the shelter. All in all, though, I was pretty pleased with the day, completing more than 12 miles, given the 3 or 3.5 hours I spent at Abracadabra doing the podcast. Day 123, which was last Thursday, which took us from Thistle Hill Shelter, mile 1740.9, all the way to Norwich, Vermont, mile 1754.3, a 13.4 mile day, which put us right on the edge of getting into New Hampshire. It poured overnight, and then it poured again, starting about an hour before my alarm went at 5 o'clock in the morning. Oh my God. And my ground sheet, as I say, underneath my tent just got full of mud, and there was all this damp in my tent. I went down to the shelter to dry out and had breakfast because I knew there was no rush. I had this soggy mess to sort out, and it was one of those things you just have to manage again. So I sat there and had breakfast, and then the sun came out. And I was kind of in damage limitation mode and carried my various pods. I think I've told you about the pods, which I use to store all my gear in that fit into my Hyperlight Mountain Gear backpack. Those pods are very effective, and even though they've been sitting on this damp floor all night, they were perfectly dry and everything was perfectly dry in it. So that was good. I had all my 4 pods keeping everything dry, or pretty much everything dry. Naturally enough, the tent itself was a major issue. So I picked it up and shook out as much mud as I was able to, and I was just shoveling it all off with my hand. It was pretty disgusting, really. And there was quite a pile of it once I'd finished. While I was collecting this mud pile, I looked behind me to see a gorgeous sight of the sun coming through the trees as this kind of fresh, dewy morning mist played around it. The resulting picture was one of the best I've taken out. In fact, it was one of the best I've ever taken. I'll probably frame it actually when I get home. I kept taking pictures throughout the morning, especially when the light came through the trees, but none was as good as that first one. And that was a really special moment it was the one benefit of a damp morning. I could see this just beautiful view ahead of me, and I loved it. I use a compression sack for my tent and I heaved the sopping mess into it. And it added weight to my pack, no doubt, because there was still plenty of mud on it as well and plenty of water in it. And I squeezed it down as much as I possibly could, but really it was horrible. And I couldn't wait to try to get it dried out. While I was at the shelter, I took advantage of the time on my hands as I waited for the rain to calm down by interviewing two couples. The first was a couple in their late 20s, early 30s, doing the whole trail. And I'll play the recording of Man and Chapstick after this. The other couple was a mother and son, Neighbor and Bellows, out for a section hike. And Neighbor is a listener to the podcast. We're going to play that conversation after tomorrow's report. We were heading for a hotel in Norwich and I hoped I'd be able to set up the tent in the parking lot to dry it out. I've done this before, however wet it gets, you think, God, this is never going to dry out. Because there's different layers. There's the ground sheet, there's the base of the tent, the floor of the tent, obviously the bit that I'm on when my air pad's on it, but also underneath the floor of the tent. And then, of course, there's the tarp itself on top. And and the best example was when I was in Duncannon, staying at the Assemblyman Church Assemblyman Hall, whatever it's called, and I took it out and set it up in their parking lot in the sun, and it started drying out before I'd even fully put it up. And within 15, 20 minutes, the whole thing, everywhere, was dried out. It is remarkable, the material of these tents and how easy it is to dry them out once they hit the sun. And we headed for Norwich, and there weren't many places to stay. And it struck us that there are definitely a lack of facilities in the north. You think somebody would want to open more hostels, but we're starting to struggle to find places, certainly at reasonable expense, that we can stay in. And obviously we want to tent when we can, and we're happy to tent when we can, but sometimes you need to get off, and I need to get my podcast done, and I need to do some laundry at some stage, but it's never easy anyway. I'm just thinking I'm listening to myself talk, and I'm thinking, yeah, I sound like an entitled hiker. I don't mean to sound entitled, but I think some people are missing a bit of a trick, that they could open a few little places that might make themselves a little bit of money and help the hiking community. I don't know, maybe I'm wrong. I eventually set off, sometime after 9:30 a.m, I think it was. The path was quite easy, largely downhill all the way to West Vermont. It's not West Vermont, it's West Hartford, where I intended to take a brief break at Randy and Linda's place. And Randy and Linda have been offering trail magic to hikers for 20 years. And I went up to they have this like patio at the side of the house, and you go up there, have coffee, they offer you soft drinks and so on. They used to do breakfast. And I've got a picture on my phone of Randy in 2014. And I showed it to Linda. And I didn't see Randy on this day, unfortunately. Maybe he was out. And I showed it to Linda and said, yep, that's my husband. He's grinning away, making pancakes. And that's what he always looked like. So it was really nice to see him. And we had a nice chat, and I moved on. The main climb of the day was about 12 or 1,300 feet, over about 3 miles, before we dipped down once more towards Norwich. And it's another of those examples. You walk through West Vermont, and there's quite a hill actually out of, I keep calling it West Vermont, West Hartford, sorry about that. And there's a bit of a hill taking you out there. And I always find those uphills on a road are so much more demanding than the uphills in the woods. I don't know why it is at all. The Norwich Inn is really quite expensive, but Nuke and I shared a room, which mitigated the cost, but really it was way more than we intended to spend. To approach you come out of the woods, and there's this quite sharp descent before you do a big ascent up on the road again, up into Norwich. And it's a pretty little town. And the Norwich Inn is just off the trail, just about 200 yards to the left. You go right on the trail, but 200 yards to the left on Main Street. Anyway, they shuttled us to another town to do our laundry, because there's not a coin-operated laundry there or in Hanover, apparently. And we ate at a nearby Irish bar while the laundry was getting done. We headed back to the inn, And unfortunately, none of this gave me time to dry out my tent, so it remained stewing in my bag for another night. So I'm sitting here in the shelter with Chapstick and Mossman. Hey guys, thanks for talking to me.
Of course.
Hello.
And you're through hiking, Nobo through hiking, and you came in here last night and it was pouring, or had been pouring with rain.
Yep.
How was that last bit of the day for you?
It was, you're nice and dry all day, and then the last mile and a half you get nice and wet, and then, that's always fun.
You were totally drenched.
Yep.
Yeah. So you're a couple.
Yes.
Absolutely. Yeah. And what was the dream? Why did you want to do this?
It's just a sense of validation, I guess. Can we do it? Might as well try. If we're gonna travel, it might as well be in a fun, interesting way, like on foot. So, yeah, just an ambition to travel a little bit and just have some fun.
It was his idea.
Right, I could see the look on your face. Yeah, he wanted to do it, so it was either he goes without you or you go with him. So why did you decide to go with him?
Well, I didn't even think that it was a possibility, really. I thought, like somebody has to stay home, do all the stuff at home, until he just, well, I guess our dog passed away. He had wanted to do it for a long time, thought maybe like he'll wait until that time came. We thought we had a lot more time with her. We were like, she's going to live forever.
Sure. Yeah.
And then when she passed away was when he kind of was like, I want you to come with me. Like, I don't want you to be alone at home. I don't want to be alone on the trail. And so then I started thinking about it.
Right.
And was like, okay, yeah, I think I will. Why not?
So who do you think's enjoyed it the most then, now you're here?
Me, probably.
Yeah, probably.
You didn't even start having fun until we got like 400 miles in, and then you said, oh, now I'm starting to have fun.
It was like after the Smokies, I thought, okay, I think I can actually do this. Maybe.
Wow. So you basically hated it for about 300 or 400 miles.
I was struggling and still struggle, honestly.
Do you know, it's meant to be a struggle. It's not meant to be that easy.
Right.
If it was that easy, everybody would do it, wouldn't they?
Yeah.
Once I figured out, it's all just going to be hard.
Yeah.
My mindset kind of changed into like, okay, it's going to be hard, but I can do it.
Well, this is the day before we get to New Hampshire.
Yes.
Yeah,
That's it.
Almost two states left.
The people who tell you it ramps up in difficulty are lying with you. It double ramps up in difficulty. It is so much more difficult. But you know what? You're trained for it. You've done 1,700 miles. You're ready to do it. So if you don't mind me asking, how old are the two of you?
I'm 31.
I'm 29.
Okay. And did you have to quit jobs and that sort of thing?
Temporarily. I'm on sabbatical, so my job's waiting for me when I get back.
Really? What do you do then?
I work at a used outdoor gear store.
Oh,
So
wow.
it kind of worked out, and they were all for me doing the trail.
Of course. That was about the perfect job to quit
Yep.
and come back to, isn't it?
Yep, it seems that way.
What about you, Chapstick?
I was a therapist, so I was working on licensure, and so couldn't hike while I was doing that because you've got to get hours and stuff. And finished up getting my license. I had to wrap up with my clients. I let them know that I'm leaving. And yeah, I quit. And I plan to go back.
Right.
But
You turned down the trail named Freud, apparently.
I did. Yeah,
Quite rightly so,
sorry.
by the way. How did you get Chapstick?
I kind of gave it to myself, honestly.
That's okay.
because
Nothing wrong with that.
I didn't really want Freud.
Right.
And
But it was cold when we started.
yes.
You're using chapstick all the time on your entire face and not just your lips.
Because
So
I kept having to blow my nose, so everything was just dry.
Oh, yeah.
Just put chapstick all over my face.
It's tough. So you go back to you not wanting to, not so much not wanting to come, but really struggling to start with. Did you, I've asked this of couples, did you have that conversation about what if one quits? What if, well, let's start, if you'd quit then, Chapstick, and you'd gone home, what would you have done, Mossman?
I probably would have tried to keep going, but I think I probably wouldn't have made it this far if it was just me on my own. So, but I definitely would have attempted at least to
I'm
keep
guessing
going.
the same's not with you. If he didn't like it.
Yeah. If you went home, I was going home.
Right now, you're 1,700 miles. You're only 500 miles. It's a long way still. You've got 500 miles, less than 500 miles to go. What if one of you quit then? Would the other one carry on?
I don't know. Would you carry on if I quit? I don't think I would quit. But
I know, I can't even imagine you quitting.
Yeah, I don't think I could. I don't think I could quit unless like an injury happened or something like that. That's the only thing that would prevent me from
and
finishing.
I feel like if an injury happens to you, I would get off with you, and then at some point we come back and finish.
Right.
Yeah.
So how has the dynamic changed between the two of you? You must, because you're with each other 24/7. I presume you hike all day with each other as well. Mm-hmm. How has it changed much, or has it deepened the relationship or strained it?
I don't think it's strained it. I think we're just as strong as it's ever been.
Right answer, by the way.
Yeah.
From the look of Chapstick's face.
I was just thinking, I think the trail makes you a better communicator because you have to. You're with each other constantly.
Good skills to learn.
Yeah.
Well, I wish you the best for the rest of the way. It's you're going to love, however difficult it's going to be, you're going to love New Hampshire and Maine. It's just spectacular. And that finish at Katahdin, I just envy you because I'm not going to finish at Katahdin. I'm going to be sort of going back south again. But hope you have a great time, and thanks for talking to us.
Yeah, thank you.
Cheers. Day 124, which was last Friday, Norwich, Vermont, mile 1754.3 to Moose Mountain Shelter, mile 1766.5, a 12.2 mile day to take us into New Hampshire. And the last two states, well, I know I've got to go back to do West Virginia and quite a lot of Virginia, but yeah, the last two big states. It was a pretty slow start to the day with breakfast not open until 7 o'clock. And, we had to check out and so on. Nuke doesn't have breakfast. He has coffee and he might have some breakfast essentials, whatever they call them. So he headed out and I stayed and had my fill of everything that was on offer in the breakfast, obviously. I then walked down the road towards Hanover and crossed the Connecticut River into New Hampshire. There was a guy who happened to be walking past and I got him to take my picture. On each of my thru hikes, this picture of me beside the Vermont, New Hampshire sign has always felt like I was about to step up a couple of gears in terms of my hiking. And it felt strongly as a 73-year-old on that morning. I must admit, it does intimidate me, the thought of going into New Hampshire. And I know those earlier miles, which I've now done, and I'm recording this on the verge of doing Moosilauke tomorrow. But yeah, I really felt strongly we were moving up a gear or two. Probably 3 years, actually. By the way, after this, I'm going to be playing the second conversation I'd had in the shelter the previous day with Neighbor and Bellows. Then there was a bit of a climb on the road up into Hanover before turning right and into the main street. There was a bakery and a coffee shop called Lou's, and a bloke outside said that as a thru hiker, I was entitled to a free muffin. Say no more. Point me in that direction, I said. So I whiled away about 3/4 of an hour, maybe an hour over that coffee and a muffin before heading out once more, still on the road before finally hitting the forest and quite a steep climb early on. Do you know, it's probably my imagination, maybe it's not, but maybe it's just the dramatic nature of this, but the trail immediately seemed much wider, bigger, more dramatic and old. There's such a feel to those first miles in New Hampshire. You know you're there, you've crossed the border, so you know there, and you know the difficulties to come, especially if you've done it before, but it just seems just so different. And I knew that this early section of New Hampshire was the easiest and that Moosilauke awaited us on Monday or Tuesday, but it really was a great hiking day. There was even a short boardwalk in the sun to give us a bit of a break from the dark, sort of ponderous forest. My tent had been utterly soaked through that storm 2 nights ago, so I wanted to find somewhere to set it up in the sunshine. There were various places I saw because we came out in a pasture a few times, but nothing perfect until I got to the summit of Moose Mountain, which was less than a mile from the shelter, and it was perfect. So I I set it up. I took it out my pack, and it was still dripping wet. And I set it up, and even before I got my poles totally set up, the thing was drying on top. And it was completely bone dry in about 15 or 20 minutes. It is remarkable. I mean, I was tipping it up on its side so I could expose the bottom to the sun. I then pulled off the ground sheet so I could expose the bottom of the tent. I kept open the vestibules, both sides, so the base of the tent where I put my sleeping pad would dry out. Literally 15 or 20 minutes. It is so great to be able to get it dry again. So, having done this, I took it down again, packed it all up, and went the last 0.7 of a mile to camp. And I laid out my tent, which was now perfectly dry, and I thought, oh my God, I left my poles back at the top. 0.7 of a mile back at the top, which at the end of the day, you just don't want 0.7 of a mile there and 0.7 miles back, quite a bit of which was up on the way there. And I tell you, I don't know that I panicked, because I don't believe anybody's ever going to steal anything like that. But some hikers could pick them up and say, well, we'll take them on to the next place. And I could have been a southbound hiker and they wouldn't have known which way to take them. So I had started trying to rationalise, that it would be okay. But I hurried that 0.7 mile. And obviously I went without my pack, so I got there quite quickly. Saw some people coming down, and the guy said to me, are you looking for your poles? I must have looked desperate or something. I said, I am. He said, they're at the top. We left them there. We didn't know whether you go north or south. Good thinking, guys. I really appreciate that. When I got there, he said they were leaning up against the sign which said Moose Mountain North. And I looked, and they weren't there. And I thought, oh my God, someone has taken them. Unfortunately, they were about 3 feet away from there. So I picked them up and kind of hugged them. I was so delighted they were there. Anyway, back at camp, I set my tent up. And I've mentioned her before, Barb Erschlegel, who's a listener to the podcast, big fan of the podcast, who goes out with her grandchildren and does trail magic. And she told me, I met some people at the camp who said to me, Mighty Blue, we were told by a lady back, Pennsylvania or so, that we needed to meet Mighty Blue. And she talked about you non-stop. And I said, that's probably Barb. So I checked my texts with Barb, and she sent me a picture, and 2 of the guys who were at the camp with me were in that picture. Pretty cool. I showed it to them. And then we were pretty desperate for water. There was no water at the camp, we thought. There was a stream meant to be just down the bottom of a hill. So I went down with one of these guys, actually, who Barb had met, and he said, there is some water, but it's further down the stream. You have to walk downstream. And basically we were scrambling through this mess of growth, undergrowth and stuff, and eventually found a way where there was a puddle, and it was black, muddy water. And he said, I thought, well, I might as well try it. So I scooped quite a bit of water in there, got back to my where my tent is, and I've got this Catadine filter, and I hang it upside down, and I was really unhopeful because it was black, and I put the tube in, and it filtered perfectly clear and perfectly tasty. I couldn't believe it. In fact, there was a layer of mud on effectively the top because it's hanging upside down, but the bottom of the filter once the water had gone through. It was quite remarkable, and I don't get any sponsorship from Catadine, but I tell you what, I would always recommend this filter because that works really, really well. I was very impressed. It had been a good day. My first in New Hampshire, and I was pleased to have knocked out the first dozen miles, especially as I hadn't left Hanover much before 10 a.m. But I was even more pleased that my tent was bone dry as I happily set it up. So I'm on now, actually in this, what's the name of this shelter, do you know?
Thistle Hill.
Thistle Hill Shelter, that's right, yeah. This is Neighbor and Bellows. So what are your real names?
I'm Beth.
Beth?
I'm Will.
Okay, and you're out for a section?
We are, yes.
And are you both section hiking the whole trail? Is that the ambition?
I am. I started out doing this a couple years ago and talked my 2 sons into coming up with me this summer, earlier this summer, and doing a different chunk in Vermont.
Right.
And then they both got hooked. So
Really?
I think I am definitely committing to at least section hiking. I would love to do a full through hike at some point, but right now I'm trying to get work started.
Don't do that.
So.
Get it out of the way before you do the work. Go next year, do a ski job or something like that in the winter. It earns tons of money, and then go and do a through hike. Get it out of the way. Trust me. My first one was at 61. Man, that was a stupid thing to do. So you try earlier. So, how much have you done so far then, Beth?
this trip will put me at 1/4 of the way.
Oh, wow.
I'll hit the 1/4 mark after these 3 days. So
Feels like a long time, doesn't it?
it does. And it keeping the momentum going in a section can be tricky when you're trying to figure out where to go and the distance becomes further.
Are your miles consecutive, or how you managed it? What have you been doing?
I live in Virginia, and so where I'm from, I could jump onto the trail quite easily in various parts there. So I started doing some day hikes and then gradually added and made the trips longer. And so they are connected now. So I've done everything from the bottom of Shenandoah, Waynesboro, all the way up through Port Clinton. Right. And then I jumped up to Vermont. So this will finish Vermont for me as well as my quarter mark.
And you're carrying on to when?
This trip?
Yeah, this
just
is
2 days. Two more today and tomorrow gets us to Killington.
Oh,
yeah.
Right. So, I bet you every time you leave, because you love it so much, I'm sure I can tell from talking to you yesterday, that you love it so much. There's a bit of sort of sadness that you're going home every time.
Yeah.
How tough is it to keep doing that and coming back again?
It can be tricky, and when I get to harder parts, keeping in shape enough to jump back on can be tricky. Making sure
impossible.
Just doing the work at home to make sure that I'm not hurting. And we're noticing on this trip that we didn't work hard enough this summer.
Oh, really?
So our knees are feeling it this trip.
Our last trip in June, we came and we were planning on doing 10-mile hikes each day, just because my brother and I had never done backpacking before.
Right.
And so we got finished with our first day and went, oh, that was easy. We're cruising. And so we went
Love it.
the rest of the days 15 and finished a day early. And this time we were like, oh, we'll just start straight in with the 15s. And we hadn't been doing anything.
Schoolboy era.
Yeah.
And it
caught up to us at the end of yesterday.
It's funny, everyone will tell you to start 8. Well, you listen to the podcast, so start 8 or 10 miles and build up to it slowly. You did exactly what people do, and a lot of people get off because they do the overused thing. Yeah. So why is it hooked you now then?
I've grown up. Both of my parents are very much outdoorsy people, and so we spent, I want to say, at least half of our weekends of my childhood in Shenandoah.
Nice.
And I really enjoyed the camping. We would do a couple of them where we would camp for a couple nights, and we would go from the campsite to do a hike around the area, whether it was like Big Meadows or something like that. And so this is just kind of the ultimate version of that.
This is very much the ultimate version.
Yeah, it's the ultimate version of that, and it's a lot more rewarding. We were talking about it the last time we came through, and we hiked over Mount Killington into Killington and finished there, and being in town and looking up at Mount Killington and going, oh my God, we did that all on foot today. And not just that, but we hiked to the mountain and then over the mountain. All in one day.
It's very special because did you go to the Blue Blaze to the top as well?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
When I started going up there, I thought, oh, this is stupid because I've got to come down it again.
That was our thought too. Going up is hard enough, and then halfway up, I'm like, oh, we've got to come back down.
But I said to a guy, there was a guy up there, he was loving it up there. He thought, this view's fantastic, isn't it, from up there. And I said to him, do you realise that, because he'd really been struggling, a big guy, to get up there and that. I said, do you realise though, the only way you can see this is by walking up here. Mm-hmm. And you just can't beat that, that feeling of being there. So when you get to the rest of the other 3/4 of your hike. Do you intend to finish at Katahdin?
That's my plan. That's my plan. Obviously, I'll have to work it to be able to complete. It's more important to me to be able to complete the whole thing than to finish there. But I'm really, really hoping that will be my final hike.
I think a pretty good section. I was thinking about this the other day. Actually, would be to do the 100-mile wilderness and then Katahdin, because you'll get some legs to 100 miles, and the 100-mile wilderness is not difficult.
Okay.
All.
Good.
There's a lot of stream crossings, but apart from that, it's easier. There's no real mountains to climb until you obviously get to Katahdin. But frankly, you've got to do that anyway at some stage, haven't you?
Yeah. And I teach, so I have my summers. So hopefully I can plan like another chunk down south and then work my way up and then finish up there. Because New Hampshire, I'm going to have to make sure I build up for too.
Oh, yeah.
That one I'm nervous about.
I don't know how you do that, actually.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what you could do. You could do a section further south and then fly up or drive up and then do New Hampshire. You'll have your legs by then.
Oh, that's a good idea.
If you give yourself a long enough time, yeah.
Right.
Because, it's wonderful, but it's wonderfully hard as well. So,
that's a great idea. Do a good hilly part, good mountainous part down south to really build
do
up.
something like that, yeah.
I like that idea.
Well, I hope you enjoy, you've enjoyed your hike this week. I know you have, clearly, and both of you have as well. And hiking with your kid must be really great.
It's wonderful. It was wonderful. And the last one, it was both of my boys. And so
that's so cool. Yeah.
I love that they're getting into it.
I was wondering what happened to the other one.
Yeah, he's working. He couldn't get off this time. So
got job. The job's got him by the collar. Right?
There you go. He's going to wait till he's 60 now. Then. Okay, well, thanks for talking to us. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Cheers. Day 125, which was last Saturday, Moose Mountain Shelter, mile 1766.5 to Jacobs Brook, mile 1782.7, a 16.2 mile day. There was a great view into the valley below with cloud and some of the high ground peeking out. And there's something about looking down on clouds, it's amazing. And we were short of water and looking for a stream early on, but mainly because it was a Saturday, Nuke and I were hoping for trail magic. I mean, it was water we needed, but it was trail magic that we really wanted. So the theme of our conversations was generally what would be in this trail magic. Nuke wanted beers, while I was hoping for something on the grill. Well, the first road we came to, Grafton Turnpike, had nothing for a hungry hiker. We'd been hoping, but obviously not expecting anything. You obviously want trail magic every time you stop. And Saturdays, there's a good chance of trail magic somewhere. But we knew that the Lyme Dorchester Road, which was at the base of our big climb of the day, was our last chance. I say Nuke was hoping on beers and I was all about getting something on a grill. And Nuke was about 5 minutes ahead of me, and as I descended that last couple of 100 yards, I was trying to manifest trail magic. Yeah, I know. The strangest things you think of on trail, and I was thinking trail magic, let there be trail magic. Really hoping there was something there. And suddenly, I imagined I heard voices, always a good sign. Then I thought that I saw one of those blue tent awning kind of things. Definitely trail magic paraphernalia, but I was aware of false summits and false dreams being shattered. Then the voices got louder and the tent thing was real. It was trail magic, with a couple of previous thru-hikers touring in their weekend warrior bus to provide sustenance to hikers. And guess what? Beers and burgers on a grill. It could not have been more perfect. And Nuke told me that he's got these, which I hadn't realised before, he's got trail magic beads and he'd been manifesting them as well. So I think it was our collective thoughts about there being trail magic that we found it was there. As I said, this road was at the foot of our longest climb of the day, of about, 2,100, 2,200 feet over about 3.5 miles. It was Smarts Mountain, and while it was taxing, we were able to get it done at around 1.75 miles an hour, which was not too bad as far as I'm concerned, but it was a tough old climb, no question about it. But this was one of those epic days of sunshine high up with cloud in the valleys below, and each new view revealed the beauty of this from a better angle. At the very top, we could see for miles with the cloud looking like the ocean and higher land masses sticking out of this ocean like islands. That is another thing that never gets old. It's kind of hard to describe how beautiful it is, but it always emphasises to me that the only way to see these sights is to walk there. And it always think about that. I was one of few people in the world who was looking at that site right then because I'd walked there. And it always makes me feel good. My plan was to find a couple of tent sites at the bottom of the hill on a dirt road close to a lovely river. Unfortunately, several of our fellow hikers had fancied this idea as well, and as we set up in a couple of slanted sites, they weren't good at all, I could hear and see others around us deeper into the forest. It was a kind of mini tent city which, had everyone remained silent, I never would have seen. It was very deep forest, and there were people set up all around. They had access to water, which is perfect, of course, and it was a really nice place. I had time to set up my tent, and in fact just about time to set up my tent and make myself some food before the darkness of the forest overtook us and I was forced into my tent. It had been another really satisfying day. Nook and I are now planning our days together, though we often hike apart because he's generally faster than me. Well, we meet up throughout the day as he stops for a smoke. I don't know how he does that, by the way, while he's hiking, while I catch up and grab a bite to eat. I must say I feel more comfortable about having a hiking buddy now that we're in New Hampshire, as it can be quite an intimidating state to be by yourself. We seem also to be within another bubble right now, and that really feels good. I'll see you next time.